Hello music makers, welcome back to Make the Music, and today we're getting back into our mixing series and we're on part 4 now. So we've done our track organization here, we did our static mix, and then we did our master bus compression. We're now on to the first part of the mix, which is where I like to start, which is the drums. And this is a common place for a lot of people to start their mix. It's the foundation, and it can also be a really difficult instrument to mix as well if we don't have the right approach going in. And like I said, if our static mix isn't good, we don't have our master bus set up properly, it's only going to get harder from there. So I would suggest getting that static mix right, and then you can follow along with the tracks I am mixing by going to the description box down below and downloading the tracks and mixing along. It'd be awesome if you guys beat out my mix. But now I'm going to get into mixing drums, my approach here. So here's what I'm going to do. During parts of the mix, I'm going to solo different instruments. I don't entirely mix in solo. Some people say you shouldn't mix in solo ever. I don't agree with that either, and there's some reasons for that. But I just want you to be able to hear the moves I'm making. That's why I'm going into solo. The whole point is teaching you and instructing what I'm doing, and it can sometimes be tough to hear the moves in the entire context of the mix very quickly. So I'm going to start here with the drums. So that's what we got so far. I like the balance I have. I'm going to try and make sure I'm at a part of the mix where they're playing pretty loudly, and I'm going to loop that here. So this is a good place to go from, and then I'm just going to loop. So let's identify what we have here with our drum mix. We have the stereo track here, and so this sounds like a whole nother kit just sort of layered in. We have a kick drum, we have a snare, and then we have some tom tracks. Those aren't always playing. Just the splash mic, it looks like. Some overheads, another room track, and then we have these percussion tracks here, which are technically a part of the percussion, not necessarily a part of the drum kit, but they are a part of it. So here's the first moves I'm going to make here. What I'm going to do actually is just to clear some headroom. I like to high pass as many things as possible. So I'm just going to high pass this tambourine track and shaker track here. Okay, nothing crazy there. I'm just clearing some headroom, and I might try and find a space for these in the mix later when things are more in context. But I do, as in general, like to give just maybe a little bit of a high shelf to these percussion elements and roll off some low end. Okay, nothing crazy so far. So I just wanted to deal with those to begin with. Now we can kind of get to the rest of the things here. So this is the stereo stem that we have, and I really want to mix in these individual track components with that stereo stem. We're not going to be able to do a lot of compression with just the stereo stem because there's overheads in there, and so if you compress overheads too much, they sound really distorted. They start to sound very harsh. It doesn't give off a pleasant sound. You more want to compress the elements such as the kick, snare, and toms to get a better sound. And so what I'm going to do here is actually create a drum submix here, and that's going to include all the components here that are not a part of that stereo stem, so I can compress it if I want, and I'm going to bus it all there. Alright, I have that kit. That sounds real raw, but that's going to be nice because that stereo stem kind of almost sounds pre-processed, so it's going to mix in very nicely here, and I'm going to kind of use this fader here to mix it in. Kind of like that right there. That kind of sounds good to me. Oh, this kick needs to also be a part of that submix as well. Let's make sure the kick's a part of that. Okay, I'm starting to like what that is. So let's talk about this submix here. I'm not going to do too much with this. This sounds like a little low mid buildup, and so I'm just going to take some EQ. See, that just doesn't sound great there. I'm going to pull that out. especially like between 150 and 300. That's kind of where the undesirable kick drum frequencies are, and those can build up and give you that basketball kick drum sound. That's not too nice in the context of the mix. I'm just adding a little sheen for the cymbals on top there. And that's basically my plan for that stereo stem. And so now I have this submix here that I'm mixing in with the rest of the kit, and I'm going to process some of these individual elements here. So let's start mixing in this kick here. And so this kick drum, what I want to do is give it a little more beater and a little more oomph. So let's go to the EQ. Let's really find where that beater is. Okay, so that's got a little more top end, a little more attack. I'm just going to do a bit of compression with it. So I'm actually going to use a preset here. Let's go steady rock kick. And so that's working really well with this. It's accenting this original kick here, but it's giving it some direct mic, and I'm liking that there. I might add a little bit of saturation. That's really sounding good, and I'm going to high pass at like 40 because I don't need that sub information. There, I'm really kind of liking what that's doing. Let's look at the snare here. So that's nice. That's really raw sounding. I might want to make that a little fatter. So let's go to EQ. Whoops. Not going to add delay. So I'm going to get rid of a frequency I don't really like here. That's just not doing much for me, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now, when it comes to notching out frequencies, you can do this all day in solo, let me tell you. Here's the key though. It's when no EQ is boosted, you hear something that you're like, I don't really like, and then you go searching for it as opposed to searching for frequencies. Because if you search for frequencies you don't like, you can do that forever. Let me tell you, you're going to find weird spiky stuff all over the place. That's okay. That's natural to have frequencies in an instrument. But when I hear something directly and I want to go find it, that's when I do a filtering move like that. Okay, so that's starting to peak. Let me turn all these down. Okay, so still there's some low information there that I don't like. Those hits sound pretty consistent, so I'm not going to add any compression to that, I don't think. I'm just going to add a bit of saturation and call it a day. So here's the processing we've done with the drums so far. We just add a lot of punch and a lot of clarity. And so let's unsolo this. So a little more direct mic in there, a little more of this kick and snare direct mic, and it's just sounding better overall. When I did that, I added some top end. I am gonna add a little processing to the entire bus. I do feel like it's a little bottom punch. That's a top end spot I like. I'm gonna add some compression to the entire drum bus here. So that's almost getting there. You know, there's not many points where the toms play. Here we go, right here. This pairs with the tom loop. So I might just loop that to get the toms in there. This is a little better one here. I'm gonna mix these toms. This looks like only Tom 1 gets some attention. I don't really mind the sound of those in context. They could use a little clarity, I think. So that's about it. Okay, and so what I did is I mixed these raw sounding tracks here with the stereo stems effectively, because the stereo stem sound process sounds really good, and then this stuff, you know, sounded super raw, and so I just wanted to mix it to get it to fit really well, combine that rawness with the refined sound of the stereo stem to really work in the context of the mix. 'Cause I don't want the most polished drum sound for this song. Actually, it's all about what the song needs. And so if you listen to that by yourself, you're like, ugh, that doesn't sound good. And it's like, yeah, but it fits well in the entire drum mix. That's a really good sounding drum mix, and I'm just gonna take out. That's really working well for me. I'm not going to add any reverb to this drum bus. Yeah, and so that's working really well for me. Just giving these loops enough high end to poke through on the sides there, and there you go. That is my drum mix for the song. I'm going to check it against my master bus configuration. So we add a little gain overall. We add a little gain overall with the drums, so I'm suggesting the compression. So let's go from start to finish what we've done so far. So there you go. That's where we are so far with our mix. Let me know how your mix is going. Drums can be complicated to mix. If you don't have the right approach, there can be a lot to tackle. Just start from the very beginning. Get good direct mic sounds with the kick and snare. Start including the toms and overheads. Start slow, go piece by piece, then finish it off with the entire bus, and then really get the balance correct. Getting that kick and snare balance is the most important part of your drum mix, and then make sure it starts fitting in with everything else. Let me know how your mix is going. We're going to move on to part 5, getting into the other instruments. I'll see you guys next time. Keep making the music.